Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're talking about something I think we all go through, that feeling when the spark for learning just kind of fizzles out as we get older. So, how do we get it back? Okay, be honest. Have you ever gotten super excited about a new hobby? Maybe you bought the guitar, downloaded the language app, got a stack of books, and then a week later, it's all just gathering dust? Yeah, that phenomenon is sometimes called 3-minute passion, and you are definitely not alone. But here's some really good news. If that sounds like you, it doesn't mean you're lazy or that you lack discipline. It is literally your brain's default setting. It's a feature, not a bug, I promise. So, if we want to change it, we first have to understand why our brain does this in the first place. Let's pop the hood for a second and see what's really going on when our brain decides to slip an autopilot. All right, let's meet the main character in this whole story. Dopamine. You've probably heard of it. It's that feel-good chemical in your brain's reward system. When you experience something new and exciting, your brain gives you a little hit of dopamine, and you feel great. It's basically your brain's way of saying, yes, that was awesome, do it again. And this is where it gets really fascinating. When you're a kid, your brain is just a dopamine fountain, right? Everything is new, everything is a discovery. But as adults, well, we build routines. And our brains love routines because they save a ton of energy. So they flick on autopilot mode. It's super efficient, yeah, but it also kind of starves us of that dopamine hit we get from trying new things. Okay, so if our brain's default is to be a little lazy, what do? We don't fight it. We get clever. We trick it. So in this section, we're going to look at a few simple but honestly super powerful ways to hack your brain's reward system and make learning feel like a game again. First things first, you have to ditch the idea that learning always has to be productive or for your career. Think of your brain like a muscle. It doesn't care if you're in a fancy gym lifting heavy barbells or at home lifting a gallon of milk. It just knows it's being worked, and it gets stronger either way. And yeah, seriously, your brain doesn't care if you're learning about pirates, how to finally grow a decent avocado, or even quantum physics. Heck, learn how to pick things up with your toes. I'm not kidding, it all counts. Being an omnivorous learner like this literally builds a denser, more connected brain, making you sharper and more creative across the board. You know what really scares our brains? These huge, massive goals. If you say, I'm going to master Japanese this year, your brain just shuts down. It's too much. So here's the secret. Set a goal so tiny that it's ridiculous not to do it. Don't master Japanese. Just learn how to say, thank you. Arigato. Boom, you did it. You get that little dopamine hit, and that builds momentum. That right there is the magic of microhabits. All right, tip number 3 is a total game changer. Most of us think learning is just about taking information in, reading, listening. But the real magic happens when you push information out. It's called the Feynman technique. Try it. Whatever you just learned, try to explain it in the simplest possible terms, as if you were talking to a 5-year-old. Or, hey, explain it to your cat. The act of creating that simple explanation forces your brain to engage on a way deeper level. So, we've talked about what's going on inside your head, but what about the outside world? Our brains are super sensitive to our environment. So if you really want to encourage learning, you have to set the stage for it. The idea here is to create what's called intentional unfamiliarity. You basically have to snap your brain out of its routine. When you do something just a little bit different, you force it to turn off that autopilot. It's like it wakes up from a nap and suddenly has to pay attention again, shifting from sleep mode right into learning mode. And look, this doesn't have to be some huge life change. We're talking small stuff. Work from a different coffee shop this week. Rearrange the stuff on your desk. Heck, just try brushing your teeth with your non-dominant hand. It feels weird, right? That weird feeling is your brain waking up and paying attention. And you know what else wakes the brain up? Other people. We are social animals after all. There's that great saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So find your tribe. Join a class, find an online community. Just seeing other people on the same journey as you is ridiculously motivating. Okay, so all these brain hacks are fantastic, but they're just the software. They're not going to work if the hardware, your actual brain, isn't taken care of. So let's talk about the absolute non-negotiable foundations for learning. And let's kick this off with a wild fact. Did you know your brain is 60% fat? 60%! That should tell you everything you need to know. What you eat, how much you sleep, how much you move, these aren't just healthy habits. They are the literal fuel and maintenance crew for the most important organ you have. I love the analogies here because they just make so much sense. Sleep, that's your nightly brainwash. It literally cleans out all the metabolic junk that builds up during the day. Exercise, think of it as fertilizer for your brain. It helps new neurons grow. And those good fats like omega-3s, they're like fiber optics for your thoughts, making everything faster. Bottom line, you can't out-hack a bad diet or no sleep. It just won't work. All right. For our last section, let's talk about what might be the biggest hurdle of all. It's not about technique, it's about the feeling. It's the emotional side of learning, and learning to be okay with feeling, well, a little awkward and clumsy again. You know this feeling. You're trying something new, and you just hit a wall. You feel stupid, you feel slow, and that little voice in your head starts whispering, hey, maybe just quit. This is hard. But listen to this. What if that feeling, that frustration, is actually a good thing? What if that's the sound of your brain getting stronger? It's not a stop sign. It's the feeling of your brain physically building new connections. This quote just says it all. The feeling of being stuck is just your neurons hard at work building new roads in your brain. Think about that. It's a construction zone up there. So the next time you feel that struggle, just picture those little neurons with tiny hard hats on building new roads. It's not failure. It's literally progress. And you know what the best tool is for any construction zone? A sense of humor. Seriously. So you butchered that chord on the guitar? It's not a mistake. It's experimental jazz. You completely mispronounced something in a new language? Awesome. You were brave enough to try. Learning to laugh at yourself is what makes this whole thing fun and keeps you coming back for more. So, I want to leave you with this final thought. Forget about what's useful for a minute. Learning isn't just about padding your resume. It's about keeping your brain alive and keeping the world interesting. So my question for you is, what wonderfully, beautifully useless thing are you going to let your brain play with today?